Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for standing by, and welcome to the Biocept third quarter 2018 financial results conference call. At this time, all participants are in a listen-only mode. Following management's prepared remarks, we will hold a question-and-answer session. To ask a question at that time, please press the star followed by the number 1 on your touch-tone phones. If anyone has difficulty hearing the call, please press star and 0 for operator assistance. As a reminder, this conference call is being recorded today, March 28, 2019. And at this time, I'd like to turn the conference call over to Ms. Jody Kane. Please go ahead, ma'am.
This is Jody Kane with LHA. Thank you for participating in today's fourth quarter conference call for Biocept. Joining me from Biocept are Michael Nall, President and Chief Executive Officer, Tim Kennedy, Senior Vice President of Operations and Chief Financial Officer, and Edwin Hendrick, Senior Vice President and Chief Commercial Officer. During this call, management will be making a number of forward-looking statements within the meaning of the Private Securities Litigation Reform Act of 1995. Forward-looking statements include all statements that are not historical facts and generally can be identified by terms such as anticipate, expect, believe, could, expect, intends, may, plans, potential, predict, projects, should, will, would, or the negative of those terms. Forward-looking statements involve known and unknown risks, uncertainties, and other factors that may cause actual results, performance, or achievements to be materially different from those statements, as well as performance or achievements that are expressed or implied by the forward-looking statement. For details about these risks, please see the company's SEC filings. The content of this call contains time-sensitive information that is accurate only as of today, March 28, 2019. Except as required by law, Biocept disclaims any obligation to publicly update or revise any information to reflect events or circumstances that occur after this call. Now I'd like to turn the call over to Michael Nall. Mike?
Thank you, Jody, and good afternoon to everyone on the call today. The significant steps to restructure our commercial organization are beginning to gain traction, and our test volumes are growing. I'm pleased to report 938 billable samples achieved in the fourth quarter of 2018, up 7% from the third quarter, which we believe is the start of a growth trend. Given the strong momentum that we are seeing in the first quarter of this year, we expect that our efforts to refocus our commercial strategy are paying off. A key driver of this growth is an emphasis on our pathology partnership service, which leverages our unique target selector circulating tumor cell, or CTC platform. We recently announced the expansion of this service with the capability to analyze additional prognostic and predictive markers for solid tumors, including prostate cancer. With these new markers, we are increasing our focus on the uro-oncology market, which we announced earlier this week. Our pathology partnership offering, called Empower TC, enables pathologists to interpret the results of our proprietary CTC testing, thereby ensuring that local hospital laboratories and pathologists remain in the critical path of the patient care continuum. We believe that Biocept remains the only commercial liquid biopsy company offering both CTC and circulating tumor DNA, or ctDNA, analysis from the same blood sample, and this differentiation is helping us gain market adoption. We continue to make progress in broadening our planned transition of Biocept into a comprehensive diagnostic solutions provider offering laboratory services and molecular assay kits with a global brand. Earlier this year, we announced the availability of our research-use-only kits intended to enable molecular laboratories around the world to utilize our target selector ctDNA assays to perform liquid biopsy testing. We also announced our first customer for these kits, Agiomics, a provider of genomics and bioinformatics services in the Middle East, Africa, and Asia for both research and clinical applications. Our target selector platform is patent protected in the United States and in 10 major international territories. And our first available kit is for the high sensitivity detection of EGFR oncogene mutations, which are among the most frequently evaluated biomarkers for lung cancer. Additionally, RUO test kits for other oncogene mutations are planned for launch in the future. This new product line will allow us to expand our liquid biopsy business geographically by selling these kits to laboratories around the world. which can use them to develop and conduct their own laboratory tests utilizing our proprietary cutting-edge liquid biopsy technology. To continue to fuel our commercial progress as well as other corporate development activities, we recently raised $8.2 million in gross proceeds, and when added to funds raised since the first of the year, currently gives us approximately $15 million in cash on our balance sheet. We believe that our strengthened balance sheet positions us to achieve important milestones this year as we strive to create shareholder value. For 2019, we have several key initiatives that we are focused on to advance our business. Beginning with our partnership with Prognosis. This project is moving along with the IT infrastructure to facilitate this collaboration, and it's expected to be completed in the second quarter. We remain excited about this partnership with a goal of commercializing de-identified information we generate from the tests we perform in our own laboratory. As you may recall, Prognosis continues to add to its repository of over 20 billion laboratory records to apply artificial intelligence, or AI, to clinical laboratory diagnostics in order to help life science and pharmaceutical companies to develop and market targeted therapeutics that can improve personalized medicine protocols. Also advancing is our Quality Improvement Initiative collaboration with Highmark Blue Cross and its subsidiary, Allegheny Health. You may recall that Allegheny is one of the largest integrated healthcare delivery systems in Pennsylvania, and a key goal of this initiative is to increase the rate of testing for molecular biomarkers in advanced lung cancer patients to 100%. According to Allegheny, between 2011 and 2013, less than 60% of lung cancer patients at a large tertiary care hospital were tested for molecular biomarkers such as EGFR, ALK, or ROS1. This challenge exists primarily because with many lung cancer patients, there is insufficient material from a tissue biopsy to perform molecular biomarker analysis. With our liquid biopsy technology, we believe that testing 100% of advanced lung cancer patients is achievable due to the convenience and reliability of using a simple blood sample for testing. Oncologists in the Allegheny network are very interested in this approach, and I am happy to provide an update that the study now has accrued 25 of the 100 patients planned for the program. So far, the early results indicate that our liquid biopsy testing has identified actionable biomarkers in some of the patients tested. And importantly, several patients have responded to treatment driven by the information that our testing provided. Missing actionable biomarkers in advanced lung cancer patients with tissue biopsy alone not only limits treatment options, but also can be costly. Testing with our liquid biopsy assays can help avoid the need to perform a secondary biopsy, which can be invasive, expensive, and risky. The Quality Improvement Initiative with Allegheny Health is designed to evaluate the clinical utility of our target selector testing, as well as the economic value of our liquid biopsy solution for profiling and monitoring actionable biomarkers in lung cancer patients. Given the strong enrollment in the program so far, we are scheduled to present interim data at the National Blue Cross Convention at the end of April. As we advance towards completion of the program's 100-patient enrollment goal, clinical results from this initiative could be reported in a larger forum later this year or in early 2020. Turning to our collaboration with Thermo Fisher Scientific, this relationship gives us access to Thermo's next-generation sequencing products and supports our plan to commercialize a molecular oncology multi-gene panel. Once validated, this partnership will enable us to team up with Thermo Fisher to market molecular diagnostic products and services to pharmaceutical companies, physicians, and academic medical centers. Importantly, once we make this panel available in our laboratory, Biocept will become the only liquid biopsy company offering both individual cancer biomarker tests with the option of a larger test panel. We've been working hard with our partners at Thermo Fisher, and today we're pleased to announce that we are completing our CLIA validation and plan to launch our molecular lung panel in the coming weeks. As discussed on previous calls, we've been focused on improving our laboratory workflows and adopting automation, utilizing cutting-edge robotic technology for companies such as QIAGEN and Hamilton. After hiring new heads of quality and regulatory, as well as laboratory operations, we believe that we are on track with our efforts to build a business that can scale more efficiently and effectively. Finally, we continue to broaden our IP position, announcing 10 new patent issuances throughout 2018 and 1 patent granted so far this year. These include patents for our proprietary microchannel and antibody cocktail platform for rare cell capture, including CTCs, as well as patents for our highly sensitive molecular enrichment platform. Presently, we have 32 patents issued for our proprietary technologies globally. To summarize, our corporate priorities in 2019 include the following: increasing Target Selector's market penetration in the emerging liquid biopsy field, signing additional pathology partnership agreements with hospital systems, pathology, and other physician practices, monetizing de-identified data from our testing results through our collaboration with Prognosis, continuing to pursue our quality improvement initiatives with Highmark Blue Cross and the Allegheny Health System, advancing our collaboration with Thermo Fisher Scientific, further automating our laboratory processes to improve reproducibility, quality, productivity, and improve margins, advancing our kit and distributed product strategy by entering into additional global distribution agreements, signing new third-party health plan contracts and agreements with integrated healthcare delivery networks, launching additional oncology biomarker assays, and publishing additional clinical case studies that validate the use of our Target Selector assays. Now, I'll turn the call over to Tim Kennedy to review our financial results for the fourth quarter and the full year of 2018.
Thanks,
Tim?
Mike, and good afternoon, everyone. For Q4 2018, we reported revenue of $860,000 compared to Q3 2018 of $762,000, up 13% in sequential quarters. While down from Q4 2017 of $995,000, as Mike mentioned, with the changes we've made in the commercial organization, we believe that we are now back on a growth trajectory. Commercial reimbursement based on historical mix and tests per accession received is expected to continue to be in the $1,100 range on average as we continue to launch new assays in the coming months. In Q4 2018, we had 938 billable accessions versus 878 billable accessions in Q3 2018 and 982 billable accessions in Q4 2017. The number of billable samples per sales day averaged approximately 15 in the fourth quarter of 2018. Our new commercial team is refocusing our marketing and sales efforts on physician specialties and market segments that we believe are beginning to turn around our volume trend. As a result, we anticipate that sample growth will continue in the coming quarters. Turning to our cash usage, we announced in Q1 of this year an initiative to reduce our use of cash on an annualized basis. Excluding the costs incurred in Q4 associated with the CLIA validation of the Thermo Fisher Molecular Oncology Multigene Panel, we have reduced all other cash usage by approximately $1.2 million on an annualized basis compared to the cash usage baseline in Q1 of this year when the cost reduction plan began. While research and development is flat versus the fourth quarter of 2018, general and administrative and sales and marketing costs are both down from the Q1 2018 baseline. On a year-over-year basis, cost of revenue for Q4 2018 was $2.4 million, which was relatively flat compared to the same period last year. Cost of revenue in the 2018 period, as mentioned, was impacted by an increase in expenses associated with validating the Thermo Fisher Molecular Oncology Multigene Panel and an increase in costs associated with CLIA validations to improve upon existing equipment specifications and automated testing protocols. In addition, we continue to provide laboratory capacity to accommodate higher volumes as we work to improve our growth trend. Research and development expenses for Q4 2018 were $1.3 million compared to $909,000 in Q4 17. The year-over-year increase was mainly due to a higher proportion of allocated laboratory costs associated with research and evaluation cases received and costs associated with the development of new individual assays and automation, as well as Thermo Fisher Molecular Oncology Multigene Panel. General and administrative expenses for Q4 2018 were $1.6 million versus $1.7 million for the same period last year. And sales and marketing expense for Q4 18 was $1.4 million, down from the $1.6 million reported in Q4 2017, as the company worked to contain expenses in 2018. The net loss for the fourth quarter of 2018 was $6 million, or $1.43 per share on 4.2 million weighted average shares outstanding. This compares with a net loss for the fourth quarter of 2017 of $5.7 million, or $5.36 per share on 1.1 million weighted average shares outstanding. As a reminder, we conducted a 1-for-30 reverse stock split of our outstanding common stock, which was effective in July 2018. Now turning to our results for the 12 months ended December 31st, 2018. Recall that on March 31st, 2017, we converted from cash-based revenue recognition of our commercial revenues to accrual-based revenue recognition. Revenue for 2018 was $3.2 million. All revenue in 2018 was recognized on an accrual basis, whereas of the $5.1 million in revenue recognized in 2017, $3.8 million related to revenue recognized on an accrual basis, and $1.2 million related to revenue recognized upon the receipt of cash. Billable samples reported in 2018 were 3,896, compared with 4,517 for the prior year. Cost of revenue for 2018 was $10.1 million. Research and development expenses were $4.5 million. General and administrative expenses were $7.1 million, and sales and marketing expenses were $5.9 million. The net loss to common shareholders for 2018 was $25.2 million, or $9.01 per share, with about 2.8 million weighted average shares outstanding. This compares to a net loss for 2017 of $21.6 million, or $23.58 per share, with about 917,000 weighted average shares outstanding. In addition to the cash usage reductions I mentioned previously, in the third quarter of 2018, we made a payment to Oxford Finance of approximately $500,000, which included our final debt installment and other fees to extinguish our long-term debt facility. With no long-term debt on the balance sheet, we have eliminated an additional $2.1 million in annual cash usage. This complements the steps we have taken to reduce our other cash usage throughout the year. We also anticipate realizing additional reductions in the use of cash in the near future from outsourcing our microfluidic channel manufacturing to a contract manufacturer. In addition, our current facility lease will expire in July 2020, and we anticipate that we will be able to further realize expense reductions by obtaining a replacement facility lease with more favorable terms. Cash and cash equivalents totaled approximately $3.4 million as of December 31st, 2018, compared to $2.1 million as of December 31st, 2017. We raised approximately $25.7 million in aggregate net proceeds from 3 financings in 2018, and we raised approximately $17.1 million in aggregate net proceeds from 3 financings to date in 2019, bringing our current cash balance to approximately $15 million. I'll now turn the call over to Edwin Hendrick for an overview of the progress we are making with our commercial effort, including the new growth we are seeing in test volumes. Edwin?
Thanks, Tim, and hello, everyone. I'm pleased to share with you that we've made good progress through the end of last year and in the first few months of 2019. Our efforts appear to be gaining momentum. Last year, we made the decision to refocus our commercial strategy on certain market segments where our technology platform offers unique competitive advantages and provides clinical value to physicians who are treating patients diagnosed with cancer. We remain very active in the broader market for biomarker testing in solid tumors, particularly lung cancer, where the clinical treatment guidelines call for the use of liquid biopsy as an adjunct to tissue biopsy, as well as in situations where tissue biopsy is not feasible or has failed to identify actionable biomarkers in certain patients. As Mike indicated, we're looking forward to launching the Thermo Fisher Oncomine panel and further expanding our market share in the lung cancer treatment market. In addition, our commercial team is now focusing on 3 market segments in which we are gaining traction due to the unique circulating tumor cell, or CTC-based offerings. I want to emphasize that our Target Selector CTC and Empower TC offerings not only enable the capture and enumeration of CTCs, but they also enable the analysis of biomarkers in CTCs, which distinguishes Biocept in the marketplace. The first segment that I want to highlight is the uro-oncology market for prostate cancer, and our focus in this area with our Empower TC platform. Empower TC enables local urology practices and uropathologists to utilize our cutting-edge technology and to interpret the results of circulating tumor cells and biomarker testing themselves, after we process these tests in our laboratory in San Diego. As you may have seen, earlier this week we announced the launch of our expanded Empower TC offering, which now includes CTC enumeration and testing for prognostic and predictive biomarkers in prostate cancer such as AR, P10, CMET, and ARV7. Many men are diagnosed with low-grade prostate cancer and simply undergo watchful waiting or active surveillance to see if their cancer is advancing at an increased rate. Our vision, which is driven by the input from some of our physician customers, is that our Empower TC platform can be used to monitor patients in the watchful waiting phase with biomarker testing every 6 months when patients are typically scheduled to go back for their active surveillance exam. Next, we're focusing our sales professionals on the breast cancer testing market. Several types of breast cancers have good treatment options, and surgery may resolve the disease for many women. However, there are several indications in breast cancer where there remains a major unmet medical need. Here we believe that our liquid biopsy testing can play an important role in providing new information that can aid in treatment selection. There is a growing interest in the detection and monitoring of CTCs as it relates to breast cancer treatment. The number of medical papers and publications for CTCs has tripled since the year 2000, with over 1,500 publications in 2017 alone. We recently attended the 36th Annual Miami Breast Cancer Conference and found significant physician interest in our Target Selector platform for monitoring of CTCs in the blood of breast cancer patients. Doctors are highly interested in using circulating tumor cells to assess the potential for metastatic disease in breast cancer. Additionally, triple-negative breast cancer, or breast cancer that is negative for the 3 major biomarkers of HER2, PR, and ER overexpression, remains a major unmet medical need with limited treatment options. These biomarkers, when positive, can offer targeted drug therapies instead of radiation and chemotherapy. Our non-invasive testing allows physicians to monitor for these biomarkers over time to determine if there's any changes, which can lead to more treatment options for these patients. Notably, in the last 2 years, we've processed over 3,000 of these patients diagnosed with breast cancer, and we're analyzing this data currently with the purpose of developing white papers and potential publications for the medical community. This data can be quite valuable as evidence for our collaboration with Prognosis and our expected contributions to their AI database. In the future, we hope to use the data from these 3,000-plus tests to develop more information with regards to the clinical utility of our platforms and to increase our penetration of the breast cancer testing market. Lastly, I want to mention the naturopathic medicine market, in which over 5,000 naturopathic physicians are currently practicing in the United States, many affiliated with major medical centers. Naturopathic doctors, or NDs, are trained in integrative cancer care and can play a key role in support of cancer patients for diagnosis through survivorship. When I came to Biocept, I noticed that a good percent of these test volumes were coming from the ND community. And now we've dedicated our call program to develop this market and drive testing volume with proprietary platforms. Importantly, NDs are early adopters when it comes to monitoring a patient's disease using CTCs or ctDNA. And we, and many experts, believe that patient monitoring is where the real promise lies for liquid biopsy. We're excited for these new market segments, and we believe we'll be able to continue to drive growth of our test volumes through these commercial initiatives. Since I joined Biocept, we've recruited several seasoned sales professionals, and I'm pleased that our productivity per sales rep has improved. We believe that we now have the right team in place, and we plan to grow our current team of 8 professionals to between 8 to 11 over the next several months. Further expansion from there will be determined later in the year based upon the opportunities we see for growth. To reiterate, what truly differentiates Biocept is our ability to run CTCs and ctDNA on the same specimen. With that in mind, we will be focused on the following markets: lung, especially with our partnership with Thermo Fisher Molecular Oncology Multigene Panel, and the new market segments that I just discussed: urology, breast cancer, and naturopathic medicine. Thank you for your time and attention, and I'll turn the call back over to Mike.
Thank you, Edwin. We have proven the ability of our target selector technology to improve care for many patients diagnosed with cancer. We're an innovator in the field at a time when diagnostics are gaining recognition for the improvements our industry is bringing to the healthcare systems. We have seen this in the liquid biopsy guidelines for lung cancer patients issued by major industry associations, as well as the improved reimbursement and coverage for next generation and other cutting-edge testing and technologies. Our liquid biopsy tests have been performed on nearly 20,000 patient samples, making us a leader in the space. And our test menu provides physicians with clinically actionable information they need to develop personalized treatment plans for their patients with cancer. Our proprietary biomarker assays are based on a unique platform that leverages information from both CTCs and ctDNA, and we continue to generate clinical evidence that supports the high sensitivity and specificity of our biomarker assays. And lastly, in addition to efforts to drive organic growth, we are focused on expanding opportunities through strategic partnerships and other initiatives by leveraging our investment in intellectual property. And with that overview, we're now ready to take questions. Operator?
Ladies and gentlemen, if you wish to ask a question on today's call, you will need to press the star key, then the number 1 on your telephones. If your question has been answered and you wish to withdraw your request, you may do so by pressing star and 2. If you are using a speakerphone, we do ask you please pick up your handset before entering your request and speaking on the call. One moment, please, for the first question. Once again, in order to ask a question, you may press star and 1. And we do have a question from Jason McCarthy from Maxim Group. Please go ahead with your question.
Hey guys, sorry, this is my fault. I hit star 1 and didn't quite go through. I actually have a couple of questions.
Sure.
First, Mike, can you guys talk a little bit more about how the TCPC is kind of the technical term, or that Empower approach can be used by the pathology groups or targeted doctor groups to generate their own revenue, and how that also translates into revenue for Biocept. My second question is related to the Prognosis collaboration, and you know, we really look at the space from high above. And when you look at groups like Roche that acquired Foundation for, I guess all in it was over $5 billion, and Guardant Health, where that valuation has climbed to, how does Biocept and Prognosis plan to leverage the bioinformatics data that we assume is associated with Roche and Guardant Health, and how that could translate into significant revenue potential for Biocept?
Sure. No, those are great questions, Jason. I'm going to answer the Prognosis question first, and then we'll all weigh in on the question on our Empower TC and how that works with local pathologists, based in the community. So when it comes to Prognosis, like you mentioned, we're very excited about that because one of the things we've done really well here is built a very high-quality diagnostics laboratory with cutting-edge technologies. But, with our funding, we haven't had the resources necessary to invest in the type of bioinformatics support you would need to market the data that we're generating every day. When we've helped over 20,000 patients, we get all kinds of information from those patient specimens that has value, to certain types of customers. The prime customers that Prognosis is marketing to would be pharma, and then down the road, I think, is the insurance industry looking at demographic data. But what the relationship with Prognosis has done for Biocept is allow us to have a foothold in that space once we launch. So they provide the bioinformatics support. We have a rev share arrangement, so it has no cost to us to make this investment, which would have been, as you know, tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars when you look at the money that has gone into Foundation and Guardant to provide that. So that's Prognosis' role. Our role is to continue to market and generate clinical results testing, all of which populates this rich database that they apply their artificial intelligence or AI to. Like I say, their prime customer today is pharma companies. And I think they see in the future that managed care organizations will also be interested in this for demographic data. But the pharma companies have an immediate need, both for development to assess the proper targets that are needed in the future, as well as then for actual marketing to know specifically where they should be putting their dollars for currently on-market drugs and what regions those specimens come from. Now, as a final reminder on that for everybody, the information we provide to Prognosis is all de-identified. So when we generate information from patients, it's protected, and rightfully so, by HIPAA. What their software does is just pull the actual results out, not the patient information, and then that's what is then used by them for commercialization. So did that answer your question?
So yeah, that's very helpful. And then I guess we could segue over to the TCPC question.
Yeah, I'm going to kick it off, then I'm going to turn it over to Edwin to address kind of how they're focusing that with our new initiatives. But, in essence, the Empower TC has been modeled after a very successful programs in place by companies where we've all worked in the past. And on the tissue side, on the anatomic pathology, this is kind of the standard of care now for reference lab to take tissue information. You place the results that the laboratory in the central lab, such as a NeoGenomics, would generate. They put that on a secure website that the local physician or pathologist logs into, and they do their own reporting of the case. So they get the raw data from the laboratory, and then they log on with their own secure password, get their patient information, then they generate their own report. The way that works is then the physician is able to get revenue for that actual work they're doing, the reporting. We get the revenue for the actual processing of the specimen. The split's about 85-15. 85% for processing the test that would stay with Biocept or NeoGenomics or whoever's doing the TC part, and the PC is about 15%, and that's what the local pathologist would bill. And it's important to note this is a very compliant way. That's the standard of care in the industry. The cool thing at Biocept is we're the first and only ones today doing that in liquid biopsy. So this is a huge advantage as liquid biopsy is now really taking off with the clinicians and becoming the standard of care. There's a want and a need for local physicians to participate in that. With that, I'll turn it over and ask Edwin to add a little bit of color into that.
Sure. Thanks, Mike. So, again, this is very exciting, and in my past lives, the TCPC, or technical and professional component split, was something that was developed with several of the companies that I've worked with in the past. The key here is that just because a local pathologist in a community-based hospital may not have all of the equipment, but has had the training either to do flow cytometry or histology or immunohistochemistry, just because they're in an area that they can't afford all the equipment does not necessarily mean those patients do not want to keep the patient comfort and care close to that physician and to be able to read it on site. So we're calling on two different types of groups. We're calling on the local pathology groups in the local hospitals to try to keep that business, those patients local, so they're not sending it out to a major reference laboratory. And then secondarily, especially in the urology space, there's a lot of large urology group practices called LUBCAs that are out there that are very, very large groups that have their own laboratories, that they're doing their own histology, their own immunohistochemistry, and a great deal of many different tests. They employ their own pathologists in those groups. So those are set costs that these groups have. So the more tests that they can bring in-house, the busier that those pathologists can be, and the better patient comfort and care you have because you're keeping that patient within the group, and you're keeping all of the care done by the local urologist as well as that pathologist. So it's a nice tandem. So ultimately, commercially, in the future, what we'd really like to do is to almost be a kind of use a restaurant analogy, where if you want takeout, then we'll do all the cooking for you. If you want some of our ingredients, we can do that, and then you can cook some of it yourself and be able to read internally. Or ultimately, you can buy the ingredients from us, and when we do our kits as we're moving forward as well. So we hope to, from a commercial aspect, cover all different areas of our brand in each one of these different types of sites.
What I hear you saying is that so if you're using the urology groups, these large practices, and since they have their own pathologists in-house, you know, they can even buy a kit from Biocept, do their test, send the test back to you. They can access the information. They get a little bit of a revenue stream, and it keeps more of their ability to diagnose, treat, and monitor their patients in-house, essentially while either generating revenue or at least saving costs. Is that correct?
Just about. The only part that's a little nuanced is that, you know, they don't have to have anything there from us other than we provide specimen transport kits at no charge. Every reference lab does that. So that's you send out the box that your specimen goes into at no charge, and we cover the shipping. That goes back to our lab. We provide the test, then they just log on the internet and get the information. So when we talk, and this is an important question, Jason, I think folks get confused because in our industry we call that, they're both called kits. There's two different kits. One is the actual specimen transport kit that you use to simply get specimens back and forth throughout the world by FedEx. The other is a kit that actually has the chemistries and reagents in it so someone could do our testing in their own lab. Today, we're only marketing that outside the U.S., for labs outside the U.S. to do their own testing. Someday in the future, we'll also do that in the U.S. But today, that's an outside the U.S. strategy. In the U.S., our strategy is to drive business here to our own CLIA lab, where we do the testing, and then they have a choice of either doing their own interpretation and report, or we can do the whole thing. Does that help?
Yeah, no, very helpful. And then one last question. Okay. Can you talk about, there's no, I obviously didn't present guidance in the press release. Can you talk a little bit about the testing volume and following the volume and how that's growing, and maybe what you might expect given that the company is refocused and streamlined with its new commercial sales effort? You know, what does that volume look like going over 2019 now that the company is capitalized to really drive growth?
Sure. You know, as you know, we don't give guidance, and so at this point, because it's still early days, but two things that should give folks encouragement. As we've stated on the past calls, you know, we had a lot of growing pains that led to last year's reinvestment in the business, both on our new commercial strategy that you've heard about, as well as in the things Tim mentioned and what I mentioned in mine about, you know, refining and automating our operations. Those are both have been big investments, but both paying off big time as we go into perfect timing because liquid biopsy is really hitting its stride. You know, you see the valuation you mentioned of Guardant, and people are believing what this can be. we're a substantial market share as well, and so we have every expectation we're going to continue to see the kind of growth in the next quarters as you're going forward that folks had seen from us in past years as well as going on into the future. So, at Biocept, we've got a great strategy going forward. We've made the necessary changes we need to in the business to get back on this growth trajectory, and as important, the overall market itself is now ready for this growth as we take off. And the last piece with that we need to pay attention to is that the market for the big panels, NGS, which have a higher price point, including when we launch our offering, is there now, and the reimbursement's there. So it's a great time for Biocept to get into that business as well, because we can launch our panel, do the necessary things, and expect to get paid going forward once we get through the process with Medicare.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Very helpful.
Yep. Thank you for the question, Jason.
Once again, if you would like to ask a question, please press star and then 1. To remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. And ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we'll end today's question and answer session. I'd like to turn the conference call back over to Michael Nall for any closing remarks.
Thank you very much. I want to thank all of you for participating on today's call and for your interest in Biocept. We look forward to sharing our progress on our next conference call when we report our first quarter financial results. Thank you, and everybody have a great day.
Ladies and gentlemen, that does conclude today's conference call. We do thank you for attending today's presentation. You may now disconnect your lines.